Hi, and welcome back to the Drama-Free Healthy Living podcast. I'm so happy you're here. I'm taking some time off to focus more on my family, but in the meantime, I'm sharing some of my old favorite solo episodes with you. I hope you find this one helpful on your health and fitness journey. And if you want regular nutrition and wellness tips, join me at jessicacording.substack.com. When you subscribe, you'll get a free guide on what to eat to manage stress. And don't forget to follow me on social media if you want to stay in touch. I'm most active on Instagram at Jess Cording. See you soon. Welcome to Drama-Free Healthy Living with Jess Cording. I'm your host, Jess Cording. I'm a registered dietitian, health coach, and author, and I'm here to help you streamline your wellness routine and establish a sane, more balanced relationship with food and fitness so you can reach your goals without losing your mind. On this podcast, we'll talk about nutrition, exercise, self-care, mindset, and more. I'll be bringing you interviews and expert insight on the topics that matter to your health and wellness. Hi, and welcome back to the Drama-Free Healthy Living podcast with Jess Cording. I'm your host, Jess Cording, and today we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is exercise. I joke sometimes about being your typical Sagittarius because I've always found solace in movement. I find it energizing. I get most of my favorite ideas when I'm out for a walk. I don't teach much anymore, but I also happen to be a certified Pilates mat instructor. So exercise has been a part of my life for, I remember playing sports very badly when I was a kid, but I was a tennis instructor in high school. I have been consistent with just all different kinds of physical activity throughout most of my life. I was introduced to yoga when I was, 15, and have been consistent with that. And it's something I always come back to. And I talk a lot with my patients and clients about movement. And obviously, again, I am only certified to teach Pilates, and I don't teach Pilates in my nutrition and lifestyle, wellness sessions. But I talk a lot about relationships around exercise and building healthy routines around exercise. It's something that the more we learn, the better it seems, the better the news is, right? We have so much research on the mental and physical benefits of exercise. And yet so many people have a hard time getting enough to support their health and wellness goals. And I think part of that, I really find maybe in some places, in some corners, this is changing, but I do think that exercise got really caught up in appearance, just a really big push of exercise being a part of things you do to look a certain way. And I like that we're seeing pushback against that. We're seeing more messaging about physical activity to support disease risk reduction, longevity, mental health. I think that's been, in the last few years, I think one of the biggest changes I've noticed in the conversations around exercise, just this emphasis on mental health. And it's true. It's one of the best stress management tools we have, and it doesn't really even have to cost anything. So I wanted to share today some tips for making time for movement when you feel like you have no time. Because this is something I hear all the time from people. And, this is not a new issue, right? This has been, people have been feeling short on time for decades. But, a lack of time or a perceived lack of time is one of the main barriers to exercising regularly. And when we're pressed for time, it can be really hard to get to the gym or do a more consistent exercise routine. But what can happen, I have seen this so many times, that when someone is putting their exercise routine on hold, service to things that other so-called priorities, or they get busier, or I write about this in the farewell tour, when you're in a caregiving role, that's a time you're really vulnerable to the issues like poor mental health, poor physical health. And it's a cycle too, right? The less active you are, the more you tend to kind of feel crummy and have less energy. And when you have less energy, you're less inclined to want to work out. And so I think that's definitely, it's a big piece of the picture. We also know that exercise can be really beneficial for sleep. And yet if you are not exercising because your sleep is really poor and you're tired and too tired to exercise, again, it's a cycle that can be really easy to get caught up in. Something I also have seen over and over is that all or nothing mentality. And I'd be curious to hear what it's like in other parts of the world. But in the United States, it's like so extreme. It's like this all or nothing mentality. And I cannot tell you how many times I've had to tell someone, no, you don't have to go to the gym for an hour every day. You don't have to take a hardcore workout class for it to count. I mean, we have studies showing that even a little bit of movement can have physical and mental health benefits. Like, for example, taking a walk, like a short walk after a meal, that's been shown to really improve postprandial blood sugar. So to really help bring your blood sugar back down to a healthier level after a meal. That's one really great thing. Studies looking at improved focus after a walk outside. Of course, we do have research looking at things like, okay, so for example, I spend a lot of my time in the oncology space, and a recommendation from the American Cancer Society based on research is that you should aim for 150 to 300 minutes per week of moderate intensity physical activity. So that would be stuff like walking, yoga, Pilates, that kind of stuff. Or 75 to 150 minutes a week of more vigorous intensity activity, like jogging, swimming, uphill hiking, that matter of movement. And so if you think about it, if your goal is to get to that 150, that could be 30 minutes, 5 days a week, 30-minute walk. But again, if you're like, well, I don't have 30 minutes to walk, we also have studies that show that if you're doing it 10 minutes here, or 10 minutes there, or 10 minutes somewhere else in your day, it still can add up. It doesn't have to be a 1 hour chunk of time for it to count. Something I do share in the farewell tour is that it's not about having time. It's about making time. I remember when I was dating in New York, that could be a whole podcast in and of itself. But I remember there were so many times when I would go out with someone a few times and we would have a nice time together, but then when it came time to continue to make plans, it was always like, oh, well, how many subway lines out are you, or how long does it take from one door to the other, and trying to figure out how to meet in the middle. And I remember a few times specifically I said to the person, listen, I feel like if this was meant to be something, it wouldn't be so hard to figure out how to make time for each other. Not that that's necessarily a flaw on any one person's part, but it's just, it's meant to be or it's not. I tend to believe that. And if you can't make time, that's because maybe you're not really motivated to make time on some level, even if logically you want to be. And I think with exercise, some similar stuff comes into play. What I always tell my patients and clients, the best workout is the one you're going to A, enjoy, and B, stay consistent with. And that often means, or always means, choosing something that fits your lifestyle, your values, what you have going on in your life. If you are working crazy hours, it probably doesn't make sense for you to be trying to get to a 5 p.m. workout class on the other side of town that requires signing in and changing and doing the class and then changing again and then all the other things you have to do. Or if you're somebody who lives in a really crowded home where it's hard to get alone time, maybe for you, you do need something that will get you out of the house. That's going to actually help you get into a good flow state, say, with your energy, or where you feel like you'll be able to move freely and not feel self-conscious. During the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic, when a lot of people were working out at home or trying to work out at home and adjusting to oh, hey, I'm doing my workout in my living room and I have family members here. This is weird. And some people get used to it, not bothered by it. Other people had a really hard time with that. And it's not wrong one way or the other. But I think that was an experience that we were all going through where it required us to be flexible and to really explore what could work for us and to be curious about that. But I think it's just important with exercise. There's never going to be time, right? The people who say they have plenty of time to do these things, I'm always like, wow, what, are you retired or what's going on in your life that you don't have to be strategic about these things? I don't say that out loud. It's just something I think to myself. But yeah, we're a society of busy people. I think on some level that's kind of BS because we do ourselves a disservice by not filling in time to be present. It's always going to be a factor, time. So again, think about where in your day might you make time to be active. Let's start there. And from there, okay, what will help you be consistent with making that time? What do you need for it to feel more convenient? Because it's not enough to just tell somebody they should be active because these are the health benefits and this is how much exercise you should be doing. That's not enough. And that can sometimes come across as shaming. I'm really a big fan of just going through your day and thinking about, okay, what's going on in your day? What's your energy level like through the day? What pockets might it make sense for you to do something active? Whether that's formal exercise or not. Maybe if you're someone who is like super scheduled from the time you wake up till the time your head hits the pillow, where might you take a 5-minute walk or 10 minutes to do some core exercises? Or can you take any phone calls during the day while you're walking? Stuff like that. But I also think reframing your motivation can be very helpful. Not looking at it as a thing that you should do or have to do, but treating it as something that benefits you, something you're doing to take care of yourself, something nice you're doing for yourself. I think adding that positive spin to it. But that said, you can remind yourself of the benefits of how great you're going to feel when you're done. And I think it's also important to just remember that even a little bit counts. Like I said, it can be a 5-minute walk. It can be 10 minutes to stretch and kind of, get some of the wiggles out. It doesn't have to be going to the gym for an hour. Honestly, we even have studies that show that if you exercise too much, that you get to the point where you're doing too many like high intensity workouts back to back and you blow out your adrenals, jack your cortisol up, like that's not going to help either, right? Like it's finding that sweet spot where you feel that the exercise is benefiting your mental and physical well-being. And that does not mean 2 hours at the gym or I was at a bar class once and I was chatting with someone. They were like, oh, are you staying for the next class? And I was like, wait, people do that? Like, really? I realized that in some circles that is a thing, like the back-to-back workouts. And I've always wondered, like, why? Well, that's a story for another day, but even a little bit counts. And I think additionally, if you're someone that you start to feel kind of like antsy, like, oh my gosh, I have all these other things to do. Like I have to do the laundry, I have to answer emails, I have to, clean, whatever it might be, right? Maybe you have a lot of things on that list. Start with, you only have to do it for 5 minutes. Treat it like any other thing on your to-do list, if that helps you. But that said, if you notice that the exercise keeps getting pushed to the bottom of the list, like look at stuff that you do throughout your day without even thinking about it, without questioning. And yes, I am talking about scrolling on social media, checking emails, checking texts, like all these things that we do with our time that we don't even think about it. And yet then we feel like we have no time to take care of ourselves. Like what would happen? How might it feel if 10 minutes that you might have spent doom scrolling or comparison scrolling on your social media feed, like how might it feel if you take that time to do something active that's going to give you a mental and physical boost, right? And over the course of the week, that can really add up. I also like to point out social media or the news or checking emails. It has a nice way of making us feel like crap, doesn't it? I don't know about you. It's very rare that I will have been scrolling on my phone or reading something online and then I look up and I'm like, I feel so much better. No, most of the time I'm like, oh, why did I do that to myself? I need to go get this energy out of me. This is awful. So keep that in mind. If you're kind of struggling with the motivation to work out, remind yourself, instead of all the scrolling on my phone, like I could trade even just like 5-10 minutes of that to do something that's actually good for me. There's also something about reminding yourself of how great you'll feel after. I'm a big fan of thinking about how great you're going to feel and helping that get into a positive mindset in the present. Just let yourself feel good and let it carry you through. It takes practice. It might seem a little weird if you've never tried that before, but really try it. Think about how great you're going to feel after you exercise and like let that good feeling wash over you and take that into your exercise. So another thing I have found very useful in my own life for my patients and clients is to bake movement into your day. And by that, what I mean is if you really feel like you can't find a pocket of time in your day where you can carve out that space for physical activity, maybe you introduce it into things you're already doing. So if you say you're behind a desk all day, because that's something I have a lot of conversations about with people, is they're stuck behind a desk all day, they're on calls, they're at work. See if you could try, maybe get like one of those little under-desk cycler machines, or I've even seen under-desk elliptical machines. Like there's so much stuff now that you can use to be active during the daytime. And at all different price points too, by the way. There's stuff that's on the very low end. If you kind of want to dip your toes and see if this is going to be something that would be a good habit for you, if you find that you like it, then maybe down the road you invest in the next step up of something a little bit nicer if you want to, or just stick with your basic. I know I have one at my office, like a little under-desk cycling machine. It gets me to stop fidgeting sometimes. If I'm like on calls or doing admin stuff, it helps me focus a little better if I can't get away from the desk. You can do standing desks. Those are really great. Treadmill desks, like that for me would probably be like my dream desk item. I love taking phone calls and doing meetings while I'm walking. I still meet with my therapist over the phone, and usually twice a month, and I clean and I like walk around while I talk to her. It helps me get into, for whatever reason, for me, and I know that there are a number of people like this, that something about having that like movement or something else to occupy your front brain helps me access some of that like deeper thoughts, feelings, emotions, and I feel like I'm able to be a little more productive that way. I also, as that kid, I always used to do my homework like standing up. Like it's just, I don't know, Sagittarius problems maybe. But you could try, if strength training is something that you're trying to work into your day, keep some free weights at your desk. 2 pounds, 3 pounds, 5 pounds. And if you have like a minute between things, you can do a set of some arm exercises. You can do things like body weight exercises like planks and push-ups against a wall. You can do things like squats, leg lifts, what have you. There are so many resources and options. And if you even just Google like exercises you can do at your desk, you will find a wealth of information. So I just want to share that stuff is out there. If it's just not happening for you to, again, like find a block of time for exercise, look at areas in your day, like where are you sitting on your butt for a consistent chunk of time, or do you have short little breaks where you can squeeze a little bit of movement in? Make it work for you. And also just thinking about exercise and movement in general being a way to help us process emotions. That's something I think can also be very, very helpful. Just using movement to help you shift through some uncomfortable emotions. I have a whole section on that in the farewell tour, which I'll link to in the show notes. But I think that if you're noticing that you've got a lot of like nervous energy, maybe you do something a little more like active, fast-paced, physical. If you're feeling really anxious, scared, maybe that's when you do some calming yoga postures or something kind of slow and restorative to help bring you back down. Another thing I'm a fan of is, if it helps you stay organized, keep a list, whether that's something you write on your phone or have a piece of paper where you have some of your favorite workouts, or if you use an app with different exercises, like an exercise app with different videos, like on demand and such, you could always make yourself a calendar. That can also be very helpful. And I'm a big fan of having sections or like lists of your favorite like 5-minute activities, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, things that will be easy for you to access when you have the opportunity to exercise, so you don't kind of be like, oh, I'll do it after I check these emails. You can be like, okay, I have 15 minutes. What do I feel like doing today? Or you can even plan it in advance if that helps you. I really enjoy scheduling my workouts for the coming week just because I like to plan out, like I'll do like arms one day, then legs another day, and then I'll do something like Pilates or stretching, and another day I'll do bar. I kind of like to space it out over the week to avoid overtaxing one muscle group and neglecting others. In the past, I have definitely been the queen of overuse injuries, so I try to be mindful not to overdo certain types of movement because injuries are no fun. We want to avoid those, don't we? So so I think with exercise, again, it's not about having time. It's really about making time, but also making it convenient for you, making it feel doable and approachable, and not being afraid to do small amounts at a time. You don't have to be running marathons. You don't have to be like one of those hyper flexible like folks who can put their feet over their head or whatever. Like, no, just show up, do something that feels good, enjoy it. Do it again a few times a week. It does not have to be complicated, I promise. And remember too, if you are new to exercise, obviously I recommend touch base with your healthcare provider. Just make sure it's safe. And especially if you have any underlying medical conditions or concerns, always a good idea to get a checkup just to be sure and get any guidance you need. But don't be afraid to start slow. If you just want to just do a little bit of exercise one week and see how it feels. And then maybe the following week or a few weeks into it, then maybe you increase it a little. doesn't have to be anything intense, crazy. Just start somewhere and let it feel good. All right, guys, it has been so nice to be with you today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And if you like what you hear, I would love for you to consider posting a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. They really do matter. And please feel free to connect with me. I'm on Instagram at Jess Cording. Oh, I'm also on TikTok at Jess Cording. I keep forgetting that. You can visit my website, jessicacordingnutrition.com. And there you can read my blog, sign up for my newsletter, check out my books. So a lot of resources on there for you as well. So as always, guys, have a great day. We'll talk soon. Thank you for listening to Drama-Free Healthy Living with Jess Cording. We'll see you next time.